Do you remember the first time you watched All in the Family? The opening theme song had a way of pulling you in. Archie and Edith would argue over the piano in their loving but awkward way. It was the kind of show that made you forget you were watching actors. And then there was Gloria, Archie's outspoken, free-spirited daughter. She wasn't just his little girl, she was the voice of Archie, her new generation. But here's a story you might not know. Gloria actress Sally Struthers got her start on one of the most groundbreaking sitcoms of all time. Let's go ahead and imagine that it's 2019 and ABC decides to do a live version of All in the Family. Imagine actors playing iconic roles, performing a classic episode live for a modern audience. You'd think Sally Struthers would be there. People who have loved All in the Family for years would be thrilled. But Sally's response was not what you'd expect. When asked about it, she didn't hold back, saying, "What's the point? It's a classic." She wasn't trying to be rude or negative. She just thought that you couldn't recreate the magic like that. All in the Family came out at a time that turned out to be, we had the perfect cast and writers for Sally, she said. All in the Family wasn't just a TV show. It was a phenomenon. It was bold, controversial, and raw in a way that TV had never been before. And no live performance, no matter how good, could capture what the original show had. Did she have a point? Could anyone replace Carol O'Connor as Archie Bunker or Jean Stapleton as Edith, Sally? Think about it. No one is going to be Carol on, but then again, no one is going to be another Jean Stapleton. It wasn't just talent, it was chemistry. The cast worked together like puzzle pieces that just clicked into place. But how did Sally fit into that puzzle in the first place? Let's go back to the beginning. Sally wasn't always a famous TV star, more normal or more difficult. She was born in Portland, Oregon on July 28, 1947. Her childhood wasn't exactly a fairy tale. Her parents split up when she was in the third grade, and they didn't get a divorce until she was 17. Her dad was a doctor, but he wasn't around much. Sally loved him, so she made up a sick excuse for him to come over and check on her. Funny enough, the little game of make-believe may have been her first acting role. At first, Sally wanted to become a doctor like her father, but when she realized she didn't like cutting people open, she changed her mind. She became interested in art and even won a scholarship for it. But after a while, she felt like art wasn't the right fit either. She wanted something more, something bigger. That's when she found acting. So Sally applied to the Pasadena Playhouse College of Theater Arts, and guess what? She got in with a scholarship. At the Pasadena Playhouse, Sally threw herself into acting and played everything from little kids to old women. She learned dialect, makeup, and everything else she needed to know to become a great actress. But even with all that training, it wasn't easy for her to get into Hollywood after she graduated. She spent 3 years trying. She worked as a waitress, a receptionist, and even sold popcorn at a movie theater to make ends meet. She would try out for every job imaginable, but the big break never came. Things weren't all bad, though. In 1968, Sally got a couple of small parts in movies, but neither one was ever released. Then she had a string of bad luck that could have broken anyone's spirit. She booked a commercial, but the company decided not to air it. She was cast in a role on the Jonathan Winters show, but the show was canceled before she could film her part. At one point, she was broke because her father had died and she didn't know how she was going to make ends meet. But just when things looked hopeless, Sally got a break. She got a small part in the Jack Nicholson movie 5 Easy Pieces. People started to notice her, and suddenly doors started to open. She got a few TV jobs, including one as Pebbles Flintstone on the Pebbles and Bamboo Bam show. For a while, it looked like things were finally going to work out, but the real turning point came in 1971. when Sally tried out for a new sitcom called All in the Family. It was unlike any other show on TV. At the time, the show was daring, edgy, and not afraid to deal with big issues like racism, sexism, and generational conflict. Norman Lear, the creator of the show, was looking for the perfect actress to play Gloria, Archie Bunker's strong-willed, opinionated daughter. When Sally walked into the audition, Norman saw something in her. She had the warmth, humor, and spark he was looking for. She got the part, and that was the rest of her life. This was the part that would make her famous. But Sally didn't know how big All in the Family was going to be at the time. She didn't know she was about to become a part of TV history. All she knew was that she finally had a chance to show the world what she could do. She walked onto the set with mixed feelings of excitement and nerves. She had beaten out almost 100 other actresses to get the part. Gloria Stick, Archie Bunker's strong-willed but kind-hearted daughter. She was chosen not only for her acting skills, but also for the spark she brought to the role. Sally could laugh about it later, saying that she had dated her on-screen husband Rob Reiner for a short time before they became married. It was one of those strange coincidences that could only happen in Hollywood. Early days on set were full of challenges and new things to learn. Sally quickly realized how risky the show was. All in the Family wasn't your average feel-good sitcom. It took on racism, sexism, and politics head-on, often in a way that shocked viewers. For Sally, it was both exciting and hard because she wanted Gloria to be more than just a... In the beginning, Gloria was written as either a supporter of her husband's ideas or an antagonist to Archie's rants. She didn't have much depth. She was often caught between her father and her husband, siding with one or the other without much of her own voice. Sally loved playing Gloria, but she couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to her character, than what viewers saw, because she wanted Gloria to be independent and have her own opinion. But she kept those feelings to herself at the time, because the show was still getting popular. And boy, did it get popular. After a slow start in the ratings, All in the Family became the talk of the town by the end of its first season. From Archie's crazy ideas to Edith's sweet innocence and Gloria, she was the link between her father's old-fashioned views and her husband's more modern ones. Sally brought heart and warmth to the role, and viewers loved her for it. Even as the show became a huge hit, Sally couldn't get over her frustration with Gloria's limited options. Gloria often felt like a supporting character, while Archie, Edith, and Mike had fully developed personalities. Sally wondered who Gloria really was. She didn't just want to play Archie's daughter or Mike's wife. She wanted to bring Gloria to life as her own person. A few years into the show, Sally realized that if she wanted Gloria to grow, she had to speak up, and speak up she did. She talked to the producers about her worries and asked them to give Gloria more depth. Sally wanted Gloria to feel like a real woman with dreams, flaws, and her own identity. At first it wasn't easy, but the writers eventually started to listen, and Gloria's character started to change. The changes helped both Gloria and Sally, as Gloria became more realistic. Sally felt more connected to the role. She was proud to bring the character to life in a way that struck a chord with viewers. These viewers weren't just watching the show, they were deeply invested in it. As Sally walked down the street, she would hear people shouting Gloria's name and asking about Archie or Mike, as if they were real people. Because fans were so convinced by her on-screen marriage to Rob Reiner that they often thought they were married in real life. Even when Sally told them that her real-life husband was someone else, some people still didn't believe her. Being on such a hugely popular show had its benefits and drawbacks. Sally and her co-stars could no longer go out in public without being seen, and they had to keep up a high profile. Sally always had a good time on the show, even when things got tough. She worked with some of the best actors in the business, like Gene Stapleton and Carol O'Connor. Carol, who played Archie, became more than just a co-star to Sally. He was like a second father. Sally had just lost her own father not long before she started working on the show, and she was still grieving when she started. Walked onto the set, Carol took her under his wing and gave her lots of hugs, advice, and support. Sally later said that working with Carol and his wife Nancy felt like getting a new family. He even introduced her to her husband, which made their relationship stronger. Gene Stapleton, who played Edith, also had a big effect on Sally. Her quiet strength and grace became a model for her both on and off the set. Off screen, Sally admired Gene's ability to give Edith such depth while still being humble and kind in real life. Sally often said that Gene taught her how to say so much with just a look or a gesture. As the years went by, Sally became more sure of her role and more grateful for what everyone in the family had done. The show didn't just, it entertained, made people think, started conversations about real issues, and forced viewers to see the world from different points of view. Sally was proud to be a part of a show that broke new ground and pushed the limits. By the late 1970s, though, Sally and her co-star Rob Reiner were ready to move on after almost a decade of playing Gloria and Mike. Mike didn't want to renew Sally's contract, which was sad because she loved the show and the people she worked with, but she was ready for a new start. She wanted to try out other roles, to show herself and the world that she could do more than play Gloria. But All in the Family never really left her. Even when she moved on to other projects, Sally took the lessons she'd learned from the show with her. She was thankful for the opportunities it had given her and the memories she would never forget. When fans still stopped her on the street decades after the show ended, she realized how deeply All in the Family had affected people's lives. It was more than a show. It was part of television history, and Sally's role as Gloria made her a beloved character among viewers. After leaving All in the Family, Sally jumped into a lot of different roles to show how versatile she was as an actress. Her next big break came with the TV movie Intimate Strangers, which was one of the first movies on network TV to deal with the issue of domestic violence. Playing a physically abused housewife was very different from her role as Gloria, but it gave her a chance to talk about a serious issue and show viewers a different side of her acting. She wasn't just acting anymore, she was using her fame to talk about problems people were having in real life. Sally continued to surprise her fans by taking on comedic, dramatic, and even voice acting roles. Remember the Pebbles and Bam show? That's Sally giving Pebbles Flintstone's voice as a teenager. Later, she voiced characters in Tailspin and Dinosaurs, showing that her voice acting skills were still strong. The actress's ability to connect with audiences in all forms kept her career going strong. But Sally wasn't just acting. She also became the face of the Christian Children's Fund, later known as Child Fund. You may remember the heartfelt ads where Sally talked directly to viewers about how important it is to sponsor a child or learn more about Child Fund. Years of work brought attention to the plight of poor children around the world. For Sally, it wasn't just a job, it was a calling. She said that her grandmother inspired her to want to help others, and she jumped at the chance to make a difference on such a large scale. Of course, Sally's life wasn't all work. She also found time for love and family. She married psychiatrist William Rader in 1977 and had a daughter named Samantha. Even though they got divorced a few years later, Sally stayed close to her daughter and focused on balancing her career with motherhood. It wasn't always easy, but Sally did it with the same determination she brought to every role she played in the 1980s. She returned to TV with a recurring role on N95, the show based on the popular movie she was in. At the same time, she played Marcia McMurray Shrimpton, adding her comedic touch to the workplace comedy. She also appeared in The Odd Couple, which was the female version of Neil Simon's classic play. Touring for the production was hard, but Sally took on the challenge, even though it meant being away from home, because acting wasn't just a job to her, it was a passion. She couldn't imagine giving up the stage. From starring in Annie to playing Dolly Levi in the 50th anniversary tour of Hello Dolly, Sally became a regular performer in theater productions across the country. She loved interacting with live audiences. Theater gave her a chance to show off her range and reminded her of why she fell in love with acting in the first place. Even in more recent years, she has continued to appear in productions. Sally kept her name and talent alive in the entertainment world with roles in Young Frankenstein and Gilmore Girls, as Babette Del Sally brought her signature warmth and humor to the quirky town of Stars Hollow. Fans of all ages fell in love with her portrayal of the eccentric, big-hearted neighbor. For many younger viewers, this role was their first introduction to Sally's work, and it added another layer to her talent. Sally loved hearing how mothers and daughters connected over Gilmore Girls and shared their favorite moments from the show with her whenever they met her in 2024. Sally came back into the spotlight with the Netflix show A Man on the Inside, a heartwarming comedy in which she played Virginia, a brave and lively resident of a retirement home, working with Ted Danson and an amazing cast. A group of veteran actors worked on the project, which energized Sally. She called it a gift, especially after the quiet years after Gilmore Girls, because it reminded her that her talent and presence still had a place in today's entertainment world. Sally's career has been full of ups and downs, but she's always dealt with them with strength and gratitude. All in the Family changed her life in many ways, not just by making her famous, but also by teaching her how to tell stories that mattered. The lessons she learned from Carol O'Connor, Gene Stapleton, and the rest of the cast stayed with her and helped her in every role she played. Even now, Sally shows no signs of slowing down. Whether she's on stage, in front of the camera, or lending her voice to a character, she continues to share her talent with the world. Her motto is simple: rest makes rust, and she has no plans to rest anytime soon.